likely that you get punished for getting that quote-unquote all-in play.
Yeah, you want to make basically always all in the patron war as a zoo. Just like you pretty much just want to pressure them as hard as possible because you know if you don't put enough pressure on, you're gonna get comboed down, and they generally don't have any like AoE kind of clear as far as like clearing out gigantic minions goes. You know, they have to execute them or somehow deal 8 damage to an 8/8. So I just think he's gonna just storm the board here.
Yep, the only saving grace for Show is that he opened with so much armor, but this is a heavy board to be up against.
Yeah, no execute yet, and he doesn't have like he's got one card in like one card with the Gnomish Inventor, but it's still not quite there. Oh man, that's got to feel very threatening if you're Show. You're like, where are my executes?
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of weird. This is gonna be a hard turn, but I feel like Show in the wants to set up Deathbite for the Whirlwind effect as soon as possible because he also has the Grim Patron and Inner Rage.
Right.
Looks like he's just going for it.
Yeah, and how Zoo removed that, right? You're right, like this is a pretty good option because he's gonna get not only a ton of armor to compensate for the fact that he's getting punched in the face repeatedly for about 20 a turn, but he's also gonna be able to counter with some of his own aggression and force Firebat in a weird position once the board gets cleaned up.
Yeah, wow, both decks are really shining here. Like,
yeah, like they're like both like playing us. They're like both of these decks are doing what they're meant to do like as well as possible. You know what I mean? Like sometimes like decks don't do what they're meant to do, like with bad draws. But both of these pairs are like drawing perfectly, almost it seems, and like you can really see the power of both decks here.
Yeah, it's like wow, I can attack for 27 as Zoo on turn 7, but that's no good.
Not enough. It's not enough.
Yeah, when are you ever gonna see that happen? Oh man. Didn't think that would happen today at least.
Crazy. It's like the exact comment I was gonna make. I don't know. Yeah, she seems hard for a Show or for Firebat, even though he has 27 power on board.
Does he have 27 on board?
Yeah.
I can't. Okay, I must be off mathematically. No man, the patrons are getting cleaned up.
25. Yeah, he actually traded. I guess you have like patrons are so scary that you have to trade there.
Wow, nice job, Juggle. Well, Firebat's getting maybe the upper hand here. Wait, is that Frauding Berserker ever a problem? Without Execute, I don't think it is at the moment. You still need to get rid of at least Mal'Ganis. 49 health for Show though. 49. I don't even know what to say.
It means that he has some time for his like to build up death spikes, without immediately feeling like he's gonna die. Because normally, if you do a death spike move here and not remove this board, you're just gonna die. It's so much extra health though that you can kind of play greedy now and try to, I guess, like get value from his health because he needs to buy some time for him to set up more combo potential. So this is his turn that he used.
Yeah, and it's looking pretty good for Show right now.
What an insane game! I was actually about to say it was looking really good for Firebat.
Really? Okay.
It's like I'm not sure.
So it's good for both, basically.
Depends if you have to attack into the Mal'Ganis. That's 9 damage again. Like if you have to attack into Mal'Ganis with that death spite, or if he picks up a way like some other way, because
there was a lot of
patience really healthy Show at 28. This Mal'Ganis is like making all his taps free, so it's hard for him to threaten lethal immediately with this Frauding Berserker too.
Yeah, a lot of patience by Show also because he could have used Whirlwind there with the 1 extra mana to deny 8 damage from the Void Tear. But this is a really unusual game where he's managed to gain, I don't know how much armor, but I'm going to estimate it to be about 20 to 30.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, Firebat used 30 damage of overkill on patrons. Like, pretty much. Like, 25 damage on 3 patrons and then an extra knife on the last one. Because, why not?
Yeah, I wonder if Firebat's actually thinking of pledging his own guy, because he thought about this turn a lot.
He wants to get rid of it. Makes sense since it's just gonna die to a Whirlwind effect anyway. That's pretty good.
It's interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. Because normally I think that play really makes sense if you think you're not going to have anything on board. You know, the next turn. I guess it makes sense because if you want to power rolling next turn,
I wonder if you
That's a
could
killer
be
run.
thinking so far ahead to like, yes, you can use the power overwhelming anytime, but
Yeah.
you're going to get to 9 mana next turn. So if you draw Doomguard,
yeah.
then you can play the 4 and the 5.
I actually like it because in this matchup, at this point especially, you're very unlikely to make the trade here, right? Like power rolling trade and minion. It's more like power rolling face damage at this point.
Yeah, you get to
Yeah.
keep it a little bit for flexibility in case you have another Void Terror or you have a Nerubian Egg, but ultimately it is going to face.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
there's
Notion
some-
Venture is going to give him some flexibility here to actually trade into Mal'Ganis without face tanking if he wants to. He's gonna opt to take the damage to the face. Okay. I guess that's good. Whoa, he still plays the Gnomish?
He's trying to keep
Yeah,
his Gnomish
absolutely.
alive.
So he wants to keep the Gnomish Inventor alive. That's not what I expected. Okay. Well, that's pretty... It's a board-heavy play.
Well, after that really exciting early game, looks like things have settled down a bit. With the result being Sho has managed to get through his about 50 to 70 health pull.
It took a long time though, if you think about it. Like the board from Firebat was absolutely insane. The kind of board that you look at and you just concede, but Sho's actually still in there.
He's
Here we
cashed
just need
in
a
on
Grim
his fifth
Patron and then we
life
win.
for value. Now it's I don't know, the final stretches. Whirlwind though. Best fight.
So,
good
Whirlwind's
cards
nice.
to have.
It doesn't even spawn a imp, or rather, if
Yeah,
you
this is actually
fight
full
that.
board clear if you use your. No, not full. I think. You can't clear the 2/2 in game. Right?
No, I think you don't clear the 3/4. Well, actually, no. You can
actually,
choose.
you would clear the 3/4, wouldn't you? Like you could clear everything.
You have your choice on which one to clear,
Yeah.
and it's not that easy to decide.
Yeah. Because technically it doesn't actually matter that much at this point, even if the other person top decks a demon, because Zoo doesn't have anything to do with mana anyways, you know, so it doesn't, like, say you get a Doomguard or whatever, it doesn't even matter that it's free or not from the Void Terror.
Yeah, because it would play it anyway for 5
Yeah, you
no
can just
matter
play it
what.
for 5 with 10 mana.
Thinking it through, does it in the right order. He's decided to go with this play. The Frothing Berserker doesn't have anything that can be dealt with, that can deal with it, and he's killing the Void Terror. Void Caller, rather.
Doomguard is lethal.
Yeah, life tap into Doomguard would cut it, so...
There's actually a very high chance of Doomguard.
Well, it's
Doomguard's
still
been-
good. And no armor
is-
smiths left, right, in the warrior deck, so this is gonna be either find shield block very soon, or pick up a patron, I guess. That would also solve your problems a little bit.
A lot of card draw coming.
To
Oh, and
trade
that-
your Giga Face.
That
So-
trade is so
You
good.
can't risk that, can you?
I don't know. It's not actually obvious to me. Oh, no, yeah, I think that's right. Honestly. But that's actually the right decision, but it's a super hard decision to make.
Wait,
You
is he
need that
ever
damage,
dead?
and there's actually no reason, not that much reason to kill it.
If you draw Execute and you go Warsong Commander, Frothing Berserker,
I think you
Um,
could get it, right?
and Acolyte, it would win. Or no, you don't go Acolyte, you just Battle Rage, try to draw 4 cards, and then you try to get
At
an
this
Execute.
point, yeah, you want to set up for your biggest battle rage.
Not even an Execute, like any 1 damage will work.
I mean, you can use the Acolyte to draw twice
Oh, okay.
with this.
Wait, I think that's a
Is this
mistake.
lethal?
Is it?
This might be
Or,
lethal.
oh, no, never mind. Yeah, I guess that's it.
Oh yeah, because you can remove.
I was thinking, okay, you need to draw an answer with Battle Rage, but the Acolyte, I think, was an
Yeah.
answer.
The Whirlwind with double Frothing Berserker is just too much damage. I think this is actually like way more than 30, probably. It's
Wow,
like
what an
50
exciting
damage.
game.
It's not that much.
Well, that's gonna be it. The Frothings again. I don't even know why it's called Patron Warrior when it's basically Frothing Warrior.
I guess he should have traded.
Yeah, I guess you're right, Strike Pro. A little bit of a very all-in play from Firebat, not trading into that Frothing Berserker. I think he would have had a really good chance of winning, right?
You have to feel kind of all the way at that point.
Oh man, Firebat. So it turns out Team Liquid is going to grab their 3rd win with the Patron Warrior locked for Sho, so he still has another deck to go with, and Neria has his 2 decks up. So maybe they'll be down to like 1 player left. If Sho's queued up again with his Hunter, that's going to maybe all come down to Neria's Mage and Druid.
Oh my gosh, that was the craziest Patron Zoo matchup I've ever seen.
Yeah. It's usually a snowball either way, but not this time.
They basically both had almost like the perfect kind of opening, so.
Yeah, well, Team Celestial's sad right now. They really want Liquid to lose.
Well, I mean, Druid, again, you mentioned was the weak link because if Firebat's playing a Freeze Mage, then that's the only deck that really wins. But if Firebat brought Tempo, which I would find very weird, because I it's not a deck that I frequently associate Firebat with.
Yeah, Druid against Hunter should be, I guess, good for Druid. Depending, actually, yeah, it should be decent against all kinds of hunters. I think Druid is better against Face Hunter than mid-range Hunter, and Sixo is more known to play Face Hunter. But even Druid against mid-range Hunter isn't that bad either way, so.
Yeah. Well, it's still going to be a tough... Like, it's funny because they did bring two quote-unquote underdog classes by not including Rogue in their lineup. I mean, Savi's won right away with Shaman, but he still got a Druid in the lineup.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what they bring.
The thing about Rogue being a quote-unquote underdog, or being not an underdog class, is a little unusual because the reason why Rogue is so good is because it's strong against the top, I'd say, 3 decks. But it turns out that it's not great against, like, things that aren't the top 3 decks. So it turns out that because you bring underdog classes, the Rogue deck is actually a lot less good.
Yeah. That's actually, I think, another class that's kind of similar to that Rogue style where it's good against just the best classes. I think it's maybe something like Control Warrior. Like, I think Control Warriors right now is, like, really good against just, like, the very best 3 classes. You know, like, maybe, like, Patron Warrior, you know, like Face Hunter or something. It's like it's like kind of like good. It's like kind of like has that Rogue dynamic going, but against like a lot of like the mid-range decks, Control Warrior isn't so good. But those decks aren't very popular right now, so.
Well, it's gonna be Druid versus Hunter. Like you mentioned, it wasn't that bad of a matchup. So it turns out Neria might be able to lock it with the Druid. There's a chance.
Right. It's almost like the game for our Team Liquid. The game plan is like, okay, we gotta find a place to get our weakest deck through, the Druid. That's our greatest chance of going like 1 in 5, or I mean 0 in 5. They've managed to pick out a pretty good spot against it. It's not the best case, but I'd say it's the second best case.
Yeah.
We didn't see Xixo's Hunter, did we? Or was that a deck with Snake Trap?
I don't think we've seen it. I think we've seen Show's Hunter, but not Sixo's Hunter.
Right. That was Show's Hunter with a Snake Trap. That didn't quite work out.
Yeah.
Yep. Last week, Archon brought a very standard mid-range Hunter, so we'll see if that happens again. If it's mid-range Hunter, I'm a little more pessimistic about the Druid's chances than Stratcrow. I think it's a good matchup.
I think it's good for mid-range Hunter. It's just not that bad, but Face Hunter should be Druid favored, so.
I agree with that.
He has the hope that it's Face Hunter. Just the freezing traps are really powerful against Druid. Also, high main is obviously very hard to deal with. So, actually, a scary card that's actually maybe you don't think about too much in this matchup is actually Counter Master, because Druid's like doesn't really have a lot of braids that come back from a strong tempo Counter Master unless you have the keeper. But even then, like it's not. Because like you're dropping a 2/4 into the 4/3, so.
Player with a very reasonable hand here. Of course, the Wild Growth, something you always want to see. No obvious like follow up to it is the only weak point.
Yeah, there's a Mad Scientist here. That's a pretty decent start. Oh wow! All right, there it is.
There's a Harrison Jones roll. It's not exactly a 5-drop after Wild Growth, but it's actually a pretty good pickup. Allows him to curve out. Allows Neria to curve out pretty good here.
So if you pick up a Shredder, what do you do?
He would play the Shredder, but oh man, that Face Hunter. That's a good curve, and Neria probably wanted this matchup, but he's going to want some defensive cards real quick.
Sixo plays around Keeper and Swipe with this move here because he had the potential Knife Juggler on this turn and also potential the double one drops, but again they do lead to Keeper and Swipe respectively. You really want to play around their mana curve if you can because they're like it's better to play something like a Juggler on turn 5, for example, get Keepered there and then on turn 4.
Yeah,
especially
the Grove
since
is still the best, like one of the rare cards in Druid that really lets them handle aggro, especially when it's ramped out. Like it really gives them a much better chance than the entire rest of the game when they get it off.
Yeah, if you get turn 5 Swipe or Keeper, a lot of times they're missing their 4-drop because Druids have a lot of 5-drops, so they usually can hit a 5-drop anyways.
Okay, this is not looking too bad. I mean, the Ancient of Lore can always heal you if you really need the healing.
Reaper is actually kind of decent as well, just because it's kind of hard to ignore. I mean, probably it is going to get ignored, but it gets a lot of value leaving it up. Definitely.
Aerial looks ahead, given his hand as well, and decides that he needs to take care of that too. I think it's the right call. Without that, it would deal. The Hunter would deal just a bit too much damage.
What trap is that, do you know? Because it might change his play, maybe.
Yeah, if it's not freezing, you have to. Oh, Swipe. All right, so he was playing around Swipe, letting his opponent get it wouldn't be an option for him. Oh.
Is that guy threatening enough to kill on your Face Hunter?
I don't think so. You can't kill this, right? No way.
And do you even play around Swipe at this point, or are you just all in? I think you're all in.
The problem here is that if you don't kill it, you're all in against Swipe, but if you do kill it, I just feel like you don't win the game. And you don't feel there might be a read here, right? Because it's hard to make the call to play Ember over Swipe. Even if you did have Swipe against Face Hunter, you're taking too much damage.
Well, you
so
probably would, yeah.
Probably
most of the time, you would have seen Swipe if it was there, I guess.
No Swipe. Pretty bad.
I wonder if given that, though, maybe you should have... Oh, never mind, because you have the snakes out, so you don't want to play Leper Worgen.
Oh, not a good trap to see here. Take out 4 from the board, you put in...
Leper Worgen makes a lot of sense, too. I guess it's just too many cards. I mean, too many... Not enough room for Snake Trap for that.
Right. You would only
generally you want to pair slow cards first and your fast cards later, so keeping your chargers for the last drop, the last card damage.
Oh, that
is it. That would be exactly lethal.
That's unfortunate. Liquid managed to match up against one of the best classes Druid could have gone against.
It's just doubly unfortunate too, because now you're never gonna get your Druid against this Face Hunter anymore. It's not like your Druid doesn't win here. It's the fact that from here on, your Druid looks even worse against the rest of the lineup than before. So,
well, I mean, it's a little bit of good news that it was even Face Hunter because it easily could have been mid-range Hunter.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Here's where the mind games begin, because do you queue up Druid again because you expect, okay, they just played their Druid, so we're gonna bring in Freeze Mage, and then that'll probably dodge the Druid because they're afraid of getting benched, or do you sit out the Druid one more time because you would get benched and then they could just play their Freeze Mage and win otherwise?
Yeah, this is when the picks become really interesting. Because there's a huge mind game potential at this point. Like at the start of the series, it's kind of not that interesting. It's really hard to say, but it comes down a lot to this.
Yeah, there's like one matchup left in area to really pick up, and that's Firebat queuing with the Freeze Mage. But the thing is, if you queue anything else into the Freeze Mage and it wins, then Neria is pretty much out of good matchups at this point. Like, he already lost one. It wasn't that good of a matchup in the first place, but it's just that, will it come down to another Savitz-like situation where you're stuck with Druid and you just end up taking too many losses in a row to it, like with it? Like, that was a really unfortunate.
Is not the Druid player that's like they switched out their Druid.
Yeah, it's not.
It's putting too much pressure on Savitz, for example, who played Druid in this kind of format.
Well, the other one week it went wrong, but the other 2 weeks it went well.
One of the other things that I found a little bit interesting is that Firebat's the one playing that Shaman to like High Legend, so I'm surprised that Sixo got to pick it up. I guess it's because Firebat is just so renowned as being good at Freeze Mage and Zoo.
Zoo, yeah.
I mean, wasn't Zele playing that one?
I mean, so many of the top players in these teams can play so many decks well, so it's even hard to say who should get what, you know? Like,
yeah,
a lot of
it's
them
obvious. It's like
good.
the edges are really small, right? Like at this point, the people who've mastered deck, I guess like Kibler is very open about the fact, for instance, that he doesn't know anything about Rogue, and he doesn't know anything about Freeze Mage. From a playing perspective, I mean, he understands the matchups well, but he doesn't play it nearly enough. He says to pilot it so confidently. But when you look at all the players that we have here, let's say between Team Liquid and Archon, those are all players that we've seen play a variety of decks, and they feel very comfortable, like with all of them. So it's really hard to decide who to assign it to.
It's actually good to be a specialist in this league if you actually get a benefit from, say, only playing, you know, one deck really good, if you have the choice of doing that.
Last Hero Standing really emphasized that, so go ahead.
At the same time, it's a slight disadvantage because if you're, like, you can assume Firebat's playing Freeze Mage and Zoo by default, so...
Yeah, that's right. You can almost predict what's going to be coming up. Well, we're going to be getting to Neria versus Zele. Let's see if Zele brings anything but Patron.
Actually the disaster, because don't want Druid against Patron, and furthermore, if you lose, then they can play Freeze Mage.
Yeah, and then your Druid has no chance of getting it.
Once they play Freeze Mage, and if that Freeze Mage picks up a win, then you're never going to get that matchup for Druid, so that's big.
So this game is really important for Team Liquid to win. Like, they're up 3-2, and like that should make them pretty comfortable. But if they lose this one, the chance that it swings around to Archon is really high. Like, even though Archon just ties it up 3-3, that Druid is a very big liability.
Yep. Not a great hand for Patron Warrior. I think like the Dream Hand is something like Deathbite, Grim Patron, and Inner Rage at some point. You know, you probably don't want that exact hand. I mean, it actually be perfect to have that exact hand because it's so good. But you know, that's ultimately what you're going for on like turn 5. It's like almost a free win against Druid because they can't really clear patrons. Oh, actually, he picks up 2 of those. For some reason, I was talking. I guess here in Mulligan yet when I saw that hand.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's one of those things where I don't think the Druid is that bad off. Like, it's not as bad as playing Face Hunter into Patron. It's more like a 40-60 maybe, I think. Like, it's a bad matchup, but it's not a disastrous one. It's a disaster if he loses here, because the entirety of the rest of the matches or the games will be dictated by that Freeze Mage winning.
Also,
I agree with you there.
Pretty good.
Furthermore, I don't even think it's as bad as 40-60. Like, I think it might be 45.
Oh, wow. Yeah, sure. I mean, that seems to be in line with my experience of watching them play. Like, I haven't played nearly as much Druid against Patron to notice it, but when I see the matches, it doesn't come down to like it's not a blowout for the Warrior play.
Yeah, I think what makes Patron so good is that it doesn't have ridiculously good matchups against certain decks. It's just overall against the field, it's got like slightly increased odds of winning every single one. So maybe against the majority of decks, it's like 55 to 60% to win, just by default.
Yeah, the double shade here in Neria's hand is quite good because he can just coin out one, then play the second, and then start coining out, start playing the piloted shredders. Like, he doesn't need wild growth at the moment.
Yeah, that shade was really good. I think Zle was thinking he tanked this whole turn 1. I think he wanted more time to think about this because you can play Patron with a high tempo style as well. And I do prefer the tempo style against Druid. So he played, for example, the Ghoul on turn 2. He's going to play Frothing on turn 3 after the Ghoul on turn 2. Like, that's why you would play the Ghoul on turn 2. And it makes a lot of sense to play like this against Druid. You just like once you get ahead on Druid, that's like always been the weakness of Druid. So
yeah, it'll be really big if he draws Deathbite right now. But even if he doesn't, he does have the turn 6. It's going to be definitely Patron, Inner Rage, Whirlwind.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And he actually has kind of like some board presence as well already. So
The Death Spite would have been huge because then it would allow for it to go around, go off one turn
5
earlier.
Yeah.
That would have been
Technically,
way
you might
devastating.
be able to go off on turn 5 if your ghoul survives, and you can just suicide your ghoul for the whirlwind effect.
Oh, that's right.
I mean, is Neria ever going to just deal with this?
I think Neria is probably going to stealth next turn, though.
Yeah, he kind of has to, otherwise
Yeah.
there's a
Otherwise,
risk of
there's a
disaster.
patron.
Yeah.
The choice here, I guess, is whether or not to hit the face with the axe, and I like it. Doesn't seem very useful against most of the Druid's minions. No, he chose not to.
Yeah, this is pretty good. This is a pretty good time to unstealth. I mean, your board's already, sort of okay. You know these shades, like the second one's probably not going to be that relevant, and you're still putting a shredder on the back of it. So you're not completely... Oh wait, that's actually
wow.
much better. Wow, what a play. How did we not? I mean, your board's already. What did you see that strike? You know, just these shades, like the second one's probably not going to be that relevant, and you're still putting a shredder on the back of it.
Yes, blind to the BGH.
So you're not completely. Okay, that sounds about right. Oh wait, that's actually much better. Wow, what a play. How did we not? I mean, your board's a bit of a different turn. What did you see that strike? You can still get a pretty good play. Like axe plus execute will handle them, and then you can play. Oh man, it's just so slow though compared to what you really want to do.
It has to look good. It has to be an axe and execute turn. If you use your patron this turn, if you patron this turn, you're very likely not going to have enough to snowball from there. Mm-hmm. And because the other person's board kind of just deals with the patrons this turn. So
sometimes I wonder if Zalae saw ahead so far as to not hitting the face last turn. Like, okay, so my guy can get BGH, and I'm going to execute, so I'm going to actually save the axe so I can hit these two minions.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it seems to make sense that if the shade's going to be smaller.
Right? Because even if you did get BGH and the shredder came down, you would still want both charges, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Or even if the shredder didn't come down, just to hit the shade and still have a charge left.
So bad news for Zalae here. Even though he does have the combo, Druid's gonna be able to deal with it just off of this board. Well, and the Force of Nature. Usually.
Force of Nature will actually deal with the three little ones and the 4/3, the big one, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, there's gonna be two big ones, isn't there?
Do you ever Emperor and attack into the fort too? Before the shredder?
Think about Emperor here for sure, but I'm not sure.
Because then if the opponent deals with it, he has to use a hero power, which forces him to have a 4-drop on the back of it. So he can't play, for instance, in this case, his own Emperor. But he might curve into Dr. Boom and then welcome to hell.
Tempo is so important in this matchup. I actually kind of don't like Emperor as much, because once you get too low, Druids can just threaten combo.
Like now.
Yeah.
Like, next turn. Typical turn. That's actually enough to play all the patrons and all the whirlwinds and all the inner rages.
Yeah, that war song is a huge pickup. It actually kind of makes his play, reasonable now. A lot of it depends what comes out of this shredder, because if anything, a lot of what can come out is a liability against Grim Patrons if it has less than 3 attack, and most of the time it will have less than 3 attack, I think. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Unstable Ghoul, no.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
But he's not dead to combo. The thing is, he's almost dead. Like, the Dr. Boom is bound to come out.
Yeah.
Right? And would you play... I guess you could play Keeper on that war song, but what else afterwards? It seems so weak.
Yeah, the Druid has to play whatever costs the most mana, pretty much. And that's going to be Dr. Boom to set up the kill next time.
Do you think he's thinking about trading an Emperor here and saving 2 patrons? Because he was thinking quite a bit here, and it makes some sense. You're only getting 1 card value from Emperor, and it might be stronger to have 2 patrons here, just because 1 patron could be killed easily. Yeah. Whereas 2, maybe it's a little bit harder, but
Okay, so
This is combo to clear,
play to
not
clear
for
the
face,
board,
right?
right? There's no way it's for anything else. You're denying Battle Rage comebacks in every single way here.
Patron Wars plays so poorly from top deck mode, right? Because it's a combo deck. And with one card in hand, you feel like you could easily win this game as a druid just by clearing and playing the control game.
Yeah, he's not gonna be too wrong about that. I mean, Deathbite
the
gets picked up, but the Harrison Jones is good.
Yeah. Might not even swing though. Might not click Deathbite, I'm not sure.
I like that. It's gonna get punished though.
Yeah, pretty heavily in fact. It's a sad day for all the warriors around the world.
Well,
although he did win against Amalganis, who stayed on the board for 17 turns just recently, so.
The Wrath is a good pickup perfectly too here. And you can Wrath to remove it now.
You know, how many, like, weapons has Harrison Jones killed overall? Like, in the game? Because I keep wondering, has the Ooze or Harrison Jones killed more weapons? Based on the entire game, because you would expect the Ooze to do it, but so many more people play Harrison than the Ooze, but I'm starting to wonder. Like in Legend, which of those has the most kills?
Legend, Harrison Jones, and overall Hearthstone loses for more. That's my estimate, by far.
I'd have to ask Blizzard, I'm not curious.
Yeah.
I want stats, Blizzard. Release them now.
Inner Rage, not too important, but it deals with the minion. Patron just can't play from this position, you know. I don't even know what you would top deck, because even like something Battle Rage doesn't actually get value from a top deck mode perspective. You actually need to set up the Battle Rage. It's a card that takes a lot of setup, right? So in this kind of situation, I don't even know what it's going for when you have one card. Like, what can you rotate, draw? That's why like the Braum version is more tempo based, because like Braum is like an individually powerful card.
Yeah, we just smashed someone.
This is a very combo list, so can't really draw anything.
Yeah, there have been comebacks, but you know, as you said, they kind of rely on you getting good. Like an Acolyte of Pain here that gets to draw might bring back the warrior, but it's a big sequence of ifs. Alright, Dark Tribune's out. Let's see what Zelly picks up to deal with it. I'm not sure exactly if there's anything left. There's an Execute, possibly.
Oh, that's pretty good. Maybe 2 cards. It doesn't die with Boombox.
It doesn't die, and it gives you 2 armor. How sick is that? Oh, wow. Whoa. Okay. Well, now we're talking. Zelay with the Brawl Patron. That's something you don't see every day. Thank you, Savitz, for this marvelous list.
Surprise. There is not going to expect that brawl at all, I'm sure.
Actually, I really like Zelay's decision to hold the brawl, because you know that even if you brawl this turn, you know, next turn there's more minions. You have to like play for value, I guess, and try to brawl for more things so you can kind of get a couple more turns to draw into more of your combo cards. But yeah, against these 2 minions, brawl doesn't do that great.
Yeah. So I guess you'd have to go for like Warsong Commander. Do you start with? You can't start with the brawl. It doesn't make sense, right?
I think you might be dead here if you don't brawl, though. Oh, he just passed. Yeah, what is dead? So.
A bold play, but yeah, sometimes you gotta make those bold plays to actually win the game.
Well, Druid takes it.
It was a pretty good game, so Neria's gonna be grabbing that win, actually, which is going to seal the deck for him, and no more worries about having to queue into the mage. That's taken care of.
Yeah, huge win by Liquid there.
Changed the dynamic of this matchup a lot. Now Team Liquid's like has a commanding lead, 42. With the 2 of their last decks being pretty strong decks.
Yeah, there's the Snake Trap Hunter that we saw from show earlier, and there's the Mage from Neria that we still don't know what it is, but we have to expect Freeze Mage, right? I mean, Neria's been playing quite a bit of that in the past. It's one of the players that I pin on that deck specifically. Although I might be wrong. Maybe he's gonna play, you know, Grinder Mage. Because why not?
Good.
I don't think so. It'd be nice though to see some Grinder Mage in tournaments. Although it's one of those things where, you know, when I remember the era of Male Mage that lasted about a week of tournament play, and by the end of every match, the casters were not only, you know, they didn't only sound tired, but you could tell that they couldn't possibly cope with the idea that the last man standing format would go through like Male Mage for days.
Yeah.
Those were good times.
I wonder why they're not strong. I think it's just like people get baited by other people. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Until everyone finally realized just like how bad it was.
Yeah, it's like Hobgoblin Paladin. Everybody's like, oh my god, look at me, man. I'm playing Savitsa's deck and he piloted to Legend. Then you play it a few games, you're like, how the hell did Savitz ever make that work? That doesn't seem consistent at all.
A lot of decks are strongest at the very start when you make them, because a lot of times you have this surprise factor, you know, the alpha.
Yeah.
The alpha factor, but you know, once people start realizing what your fatigue deck is, it's kind of a, especially a deck like that, there's a whole lot of weaknesses. So.
Yeah, it's interesting because I remember Patron when it initially came out looked totally different than it does now. Like it got refined a lot, and initially people were saying, you know, the deck was pretty much like perfect from the start. Well, like this deck is unbeatable. The new Patron lists came out that just made it, you know, sort of obsolete right off the bat.
Yeah, and a lot of the current Patron lists are even like kind of specialized at fighting against other Patron warriors. You know, a lot of them are running Harrison Jones. I don't know, a lot of them are designed to combo as early as possible with like the double interrage and, you know, a lot of cycles before turn 5. Because Patron warrior against Patron warrior, it often comes down to who can get the most Patron warriors the fastest. Because the other player doesn't have brawl, and you can't really clear patrons with patrons because they just kill you with shot. So yeah, it seems like a lot of the current lists are specialized in the mirror as well. Hunter against Mage.
That's
I've seen shows Hunter, right?
Yeah, we haven't seen Firebat's Mage, but again, that's a player that I pin on Freeze Mage, kind of like Neria. And there's a few players that I assume will be playing that deck, like Neria, Dog, Firebat. Like those are 3 players that I'm going to pin on Freeze Mage most of the time.
Wow, almost the perfect mage hand against Hunter.
Yeah,
even has
missing an Ice Barrier.
Yep, that's a good answer though. We're gonna see if Sho decides to put out the trap to protect the juggler here.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah,
he definitely has to put out the trap here to protect the juggler. That's the only reason why you play juggler over your mad scientist on turn 2, to point it out, because it's not exactly rare for your opponent to have a mad scientist. It's actually
that was a really interesting play. Wow.
Yeah, letting it
that's
sit
a 100% sure you have to make that play, because Doomsayer like should be played oftentimes as early as possible against Hunter, just to get you that tempo, especially with a follow-up with minions like Firebat does next turn.
Yeah, but even worth it to hold the freezing trap and not just return the scientist. You want the secret that much.
It looks like he does. I mean, getting 2 Ice Barriers is the best way to guarantee a win, I guess, against Hunters. And then the heal block can be sprinkled on top to help if you're running it. But I guess that's the reasoning behind Firebat's decision to really just get the
he never procs the trap, actually, because of the Eaglehorn bow. Like, you just never attack with any minion for the rest of the game.
Until he punches
until
it out.
you're ready, you know, maybe like a heal bot or something. I'm not sure. Like, I don't expect him to attack this turn.
Getting a lot of cards. That's what you want. Card draw early. But now he's got to get the non-card draw cards.
Yeah, now he needs...
the non-card draw cards. So there's like 2 separations. There's one set of cards that draws you other cards, but you don't want to draw those cards with your card draw cards, right? Totally makes sense. I'm sure you're right. Well, that's 8 health.
You want to use your hero power return at this point as the Hunter.
Yeah, it's only 1 additional damage and you're looking to space it out. No infiltrator though.
It's actually pretty surprising, like playing around Blizzard, I guess.
But with this small board, you're playing around it.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess Sho is really playing
You don't even bait out the Blizzard because you can just ping the 2-1 and play a secret or AI. I don't know. It feels like it's a little bit too conservative.
It's also like a visionary play. The show is anticipating that this game is going to last another maybe 5 turns, in which case they'll find some time to play it with less minions on the board.
Yeah, second Frost Nova is pretty good here for Firebat. Allows him to not worry about wasting the first one too much. Although he does have the Blizzard on like worst case scenario. I think he's fine board wise. It's just that he's gonna have to handle the minions that come his way. Now, if you're into, like, if you've got a Lepronome up, as shown, do you ever just play it right away? Because you can play it when the opponent's solo on life, they have to AoE and then die.
I would say on this turn you want to play Lepronome, because this turn you're really, well, if you want to play any minion, it has to be Lepronome here. Like, what you're saying has some merits, but at this point, if you play your Worgen, it's too weak to AoE, whereas your Lepronome gets some damage anyways against AoE. Whereas you want to play Worgen as a singular minion, so like, say next turn you get AoE, then you play your Worgen. At that point, Worgen isn't really enough to bait out an AoE, and he can't just ping the Worgen, so...
Yeah, Show gave a lot of thought to even not playing the Lepronome there, and I thought it was reasonable not to, because if you're not going to play the Infiltrator there, the last turn, expecting AoE, then yes, the Lepronome does do a death rattle of 2 damage, but maybe you can get even more out of it.
Yeah, like a kill.
You can start the board with something like Lepronome, Worgen, Infiltrator.
Firebat has to think like how important it is for him to use extra mana here, because he can Blizzard to clear, but he also has an option of Frost Novaing and doing a little bit like something that's kind of important. It's just, he doesn't have anything great here with 4 mana to develop his Ice Block. I'm not sure if that's enough. There's also a small thing where if you Blizzard, oh no, there's already a secret, right? I guess there's 2 secrets in his deck. I don't know. Like if you expect that there's a Snake Trap, you might not want a Blizzard just because it thins out their deck a little bit for traps. Like, you don't want to draw those traps as Hunter. You know, maybe you want to wait longer, Frost them, and hope they top deck that dead card, like the Snake Trap. But...
yeah, I think Firebat's looking for that heal bot before he even thinks about getting off the... oh wow, alright. So the non-beast kill command. So does that actually...
that's a mana curve consideration, right?
Yeah, probably.
Right,
I mean, it helps set up for the block if one comes out.
Yeah, I can't play everything next turn. Oh, and Show is trying to kill Firebat before Alexstrasza here, or at least get the block before Alexstrasza.
Also trying to play around Frostbolt to face, I guess, or Ice Lance to face.
And Firebat is wondering where the heal bots are.
Yeah.
Where's the Alex? Healbot Alex.
If he doesn't get the heal bot, he's gonna have to block and Frost Nova this guy.
Oh, double block.
Is this a good turn to proc the trap?
I want to say yes, personally. But... what if it's explosive? I mean, you'd get 2 card draws and possibly mill yourself, but you know there's a snake and there can't be anything but freezing. Alternatively, even if it's hybrid. Although... oh man.
There's actually another reason why you might not want to ever proc the trap, and that's because of quick shot. So say their hand is quick shot and freezing trap. If you never proc the trap, then they can't actually play the last freezing trap to cycle a quick shot.
Good point. Great point, actually. Very, very good point. That's something I wouldn't have thought about like right off the bat. But when I'm a hunter, I would probably get stuck with a trap in my hand and then realize it later. That's typically what would happen. I'm like, oh crap, what's that quick shot doing?
Well, he has to do it now. He has to do something now.
Yeah, something needs to be done. Like, something needs to happen right now.
And it's probably going to be Blizzard Ice Block, and you just don't have enough time to win.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I guess you would reason that that's what you would have to do, but then you would realize you can't win doing that, so you have to think of some clever way.
Yeah, I don't know.
Imagine the Lepronome being played here. Like, this would be beautiful. This is the kind of situation that Lepronome is just... they're so perfect. Man, you're really close to losing this. It all comes down to what Firebat top decks, basically. He's gonna get 1 card draw here, possibly find Healbot or Alex. Alright, he's got 2 draws, I think, right? With a Loot Hoarder ping.
Just lose your block at 2.
Yeah.
Well, it all comes down to Alex's turn. If there's no Alex's turn, there's no way he wins, actually, right? Healbot is not actually enough, is it?
Healbot wouldn't be enough to save him, I don't think. Oh my god.
Actually,
okay.
it kind of is.
It would be just enough because he can
Healbot,
Ice Lance or Frostbolt.
Top deck Alex next turn still.
And is he just shooting himself in the face? Yeah, and he is. All right, Fire Bat. So Team Liquid gets a 5 points, complete like 3-point lead on Team Archon at the moment, like 5-2. They're 1 game away from getting it. It's just that simple. Neria's got 1 point.
The proper play would have been to Root Warrior, Fire Blast, and then try to fish for it.
And then Ice Lance Misha, if you find it.
I mean, like, I guess when you look out the game as a whole, you can't actually win against Honor from that point.
Yeah.
Well, no, maybe you get Alex Draza shortly after, and then
But you assume you're dead, I guess, because of Misha, because you had 9 mana, so you can't play the Ice Lance on top of Loot Hoarder Ping Healbot. So you're on 10, and there's 6 on board against a Hunter that you think is running aggressive things. I mean, Firebat's known. I've seen him do that a lot. You know, when he thinks the game's lost, he just, you know, escapes. That's it. He's just out of it. Doesn't bother going through the motions when he thinks he's lost it. And now that's 1 mage left for Neria to win with, and then they might be able to seal a really convincing series here.
Yeah, they need this win too to basically try to, you know, not win the race for last place.
Yeah, I mean, there's not just the race for last place too, because every single win you get advances your position further on in the league. So there's a big incentive not to get last place, but there's also pretty good incentives to not be 7th and 6th.
So if Neria's playing Freeze Mage, I assume you have to queue Patron Warrior. Like, there's no reason not to. If the assumption is that Neria plays Freeze, that's probably the better matchup that they've got.
I guess, interestingly enough, this matchup's not as lopsided as people might think. You know, maybe if you think Warrior is like a free win, like I don't know,
like
a lot of people
35,
say
65,
Freeze Mage is favored in this matchup. Sometimes, I personally, I'm not sure, but I think the version that Zilade plays relative to, for example, a version with Grom is a lot worse because, you know, more tempo-oriented version with Grom is very powerful. This is a very combo-based version of Patron, and it doesn't work against Ice Block that well. You generally want to just throw out minions as tempo against Freeze Mage as Patron Warrior instead of like saving everything to do like a huge turn, because, you know, it doesn't actually matter that much because of Ice Block even if you do that. So. Did he keep Fireball in team?
No, he tossed it. He only kept
Oh, okay. That would be really weird. Brawl as well, just kind of a dead card in this matchup, I'd say.
That's right. That makes it a little bit worse. Shield Block. That's a good card in the matchup.
Yeah, probably one of the better ones, in fact.
But I feel like it actually doesn't matter that much, the Shield Block, because without the actual Grom in this deck, it feels like this version. And I've seen Neria play Freeze Mage in this matchup. He oftentimes plays it as a complete control class where you try to fatigue out the warrior and win the very, very long run. So like oftentimes it doesn't actually come down too much about how much armor the Patron Warrior has, rather it comes down to whether the Patron Warrior can even kill you.
Wow, there's two
wait,
shield blocks.
Is Patron Warrior?
This is a patron that expects Team Archon to be playing what?
No,
I don't even know if it's patron. I don't think this is patron. It looks like Control Warrior with the old school like unstable dual inclusion that we used to see. Is Neria playing Control? Because is Zilade playing Control? No, we saw him play earlier. There's no way Zilade
is patron. I think
it wasn't for the fact that we've seen him play before. Then okay.
Yeah, there's no way Zelia's just switched decks mid-series.
There's no way it's possible. Just YOLO it.
Accidentally just queues into, like, plays another deck.
Yeah.
He's like, sorry guys.
On the topic of armor though, can't you win with Patron Warrior just by gaining a lot of armor?
Yeah, you can. It really depends how the game plays. And if you want to win with a lot of armor, you need to make sure not to draw too many cards with Battle Rage, because, you know, often like this matchup, it's not obvious who draws faster through their deck. And one good thing about the Patron Warrior is you can kind of control that. So if you do want to win through a ton of armor, I mean, I guess now that we see 2 shield blocks, it makes it much more possible than, you know, without it. I guess Lei really wants to think about that and maybe not to get gigantic battle rages, because if you do get gigantic battle rages, you're gonna fatigue way faster. So at that point, it doesn't even matter how much armor you have.
Yeah.
If you're like, say, 7 cards or 6 cards ahead of them, it's way too much damage from fatigue.
Yep, so Lei's kind of happy here. He managed to lose 1 health. That's a big deal for Battle Rage.
Yeah.
The armor smith.
I wonder if Naria could even think I'd just start pinging the acolyte. I guess
Just
it
to
doesn't
force his opponent to draw as much as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, that's
That'd
a
be
little
funny
bit too
though.
early for that
Too
decision.
early, yeah, I agree. It's too early.
Yeah. Late game's good.
Lei's at 8 cards in hand, might have to be starting to worry about this acolyte and overdrawing.
Another thing is that if you do want to go for a fatigue game as war, you know, go for the super light armor game, you need to actually think about how to kill Doomsays, because oftentimes the Froststone and Doomsayer are pretty scary board, and if you just execute it, you can easily lose to the big minions. Like you
Like
actually
an
need-
Archmage, and then you can't deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah, or Alex Straza just keeps hitting you for 8 and you can't deal with it.
So Lei briefly thought about armor upping versus probably the other choice of shield block, so it seems like to some extent he's thinking about going for the very long game of the armor.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. Just Fireball here. There's, it's like you might want to Alex them, but if they have like more than 6 armor or 7 armor, you might as well Fireball. And your hand is getting pretty clunky. This match you almost never Fireball anything else, anyways. So. Like you're mostly clearing the board through AOE.
Isn't that
Also,
a little
no.
dangerous to use the fireball when there
Emperor.
could be a Thorsan coming up though? Because I don't see an answer from Naria's hand.
But Zalay just passes turn 6. I think that's a huge consideration as well. Because on turn 6, I feel like he would have played Emperor if he had it.
Yeah, you would have probably seen it right away just to get some value out of it and force an immediate fireball or some kind of Frostbolt Iceland, see if you have it. And if you
So
don't,
it's
then
a-
at least he's getting something done.
Yeah. Sometimes if you want to play the long run with armor game, oftentimes people choose to play both their armor smiths together.
Yeah.
Wow. I almost feel like he's putting himself kind of all in with this. Playing one armor smith and not even whirlwinding. I guess he has a death bite, which he didn't even use, so if you go flame strike here, you're not getting much armor anymore.
Alright, so I guess Emperor is actually probably better since you've got double Frostbolt with the Icelands. Never mind actually like blizzarding this board ever.
That was kind of like using the coin also for Armor Smith, so I don't
Right.
think... Although there was a big consideration to getting rid of cards in hand.
Oh
Alright,
man,
okay, so
that's
pretty
actually a
good.
big worry, you're right. Like if he starts overdrive, that's one of the things I guess that really makes those slower matchups bad. Like I was casting a live event in Montreal recently, like on Monday, and there was a point in a Freeze Mage versus Patron game where the warrior just battle raged and drew like 5 cards that just he didn't need to do because he was gonna draw them eventually, and that ended up being the deciding factor where he lost it in the end. So I guess
That's
overdrawing is a real
interesting.
possibility.
The Acolyte tends to be good, but you have too many cards, and the Patron is like, it just commits a lot, but I think it's worth it just for the armor here. That's a lot of armor, that's pretty good.
Unit Rage is actually pretty good here, I feel, because you can kill the Thorzon with your
Acolyte?
Acolyte. Not anymore.
Not anymore, yeah. I was gonna say, if you want to do it, you'd have to do
Maybe
it
the
first.
Gnomish.
Yeah, well, execute could help a bit, I guess.
I don't feel like you want to
Although,
execute this.
you could slam and trade one of them. That's probably good enough. Oh, wow. Or trade.
Alright. One thing that I think I have heard from the grapevine about Zalay is he really likes Inner Rage. He likes saving it for the most important moment possible.
I mean, when you have 46 health against a Freeze Mage that you know is trying to 1-2 punch you, And you've got to feel comfortable. I mean, that shield block was an extra 5, the other one's an extra 5, and that's a lot of damage that the Freeze Mage just doesn't have until they get Archmage, with at least, 4 more fireballs in a position like this one. It's kind of weird.
Not often I see a Blizzard on patrons.
Yeah. No Blood Mage Thalnos either, so...
Yeah, I don't think Nuria had like a great answer, unfortunately, so... Not unless he was willing to use his Frost Bolts or something.
Double shield block. Neria seeing the second shield block here must be wondering what on earth that Brew of Warrior is. Because we saw one in the earlier game with Zeller involved, but we didn't see the second one.
In a way, shield block, even though it's like intuitively it makes so much sense that you can just out-armor them, shield block also cycles through your deck in this matchup. Like, you have, like, it's a card that doesn't provide any power as far as killing them or having a board, and it's like it forces you to cycle through your deck even more. So I wonder if we look at these cards, like, because that's actually something really important, like how many cards each player has in their decks left, because that'll change the dynamic of this game a lot. 11 cards for the Warrior, 13 for Mage. So Warrior's 2 cards ahead right now. A lot of his cards though, it's like mandatory cycling, like the Acolyte in his hand he can't play pretty much forever in this game, I guess, but
yep, the battle rages,
like the battle rages and the
slam's gonna have to be used to kill something like maybe even this Loot Hoarder, so it doesn't draw a card.
So
I
the
feel like it's a good
Frog is getting
opportunity
picked
to
up.
get rid of a slam, right? Because you want to use your slams without cycle, and like you're gonna like you can only have 10 cards, right? So you have to use something here. Yeah, okay, so it does decide to do that.
Yeah,
This is
I
kind
like
of interesting
the
because we're seeing kind of the really obscure alternate win condition for Patron Warrior here, which is going to be, it looks to be a win by armor, or at least a plan to win by armor.
Yeah.
But do you think here, I mean, Flame Strike's pretty much the obvious play. Alternatively, you could try out like a Blizzard Doomsayer. I don't think it'll work out ever. You can't, you could ping Patron, Blizzard. It's just kind of
I don't
weird.
know, Rear continues his plan from earlier. He's been just fire blasting these patrons to create one less patron.
There's gonna be Doomsayer played here, and there it is. I like that. That's pretty cool. Goodbye, Patron. So 1 Ice Lance less for Archmage and Tinnitus, though.
Save his Flame Strike. Unfortunately, he does have to use an Ice Lance for this. Makes his Archmage a lot weaker. So
yeah, that's my biggest worry for that Ice Lance, I guess. Like the fact that it's not going to be available when you need to play Archmage Antonitis with double Frostbolt, possibly 1 or 2 Ice Lances.
Oftentimes,
really
Freeze Mage is only
tough
running 1 Flame Strike, and you say if you can find a way to deal with the patrons like in a cute way like this, you can save the Flame Strike for the second wave of patrons. So
Right.
Looks like Zalae wants an answer because he doesn't have any.
he's just throwing this away, it feels, into the Doomsayer. It's
No,
pretty
just
smart.
throw it away. Okay,
Mage is bringing this, I guess.
I actually really
If it
like that
lives,
move.
so
that's pretty good.
you kind of have to throw it away. Otherwise, you're just going to lose because you drew too much. I would have even double Battle Raged here just to throw it out of my hand. Like, goodbye.
The
Well, then
problem
again,
with
you
Battle
end
Rage
up
is
cycling
that
them
it
with
actually
1 health off.
Wait, no, he had 2 patrons at once.
Yeah, that's right. So he couldn't have done it. You're right.
Could've done that.
Has to wait. Double Battle Rage would draw you 2 cards still, though, so you're still paying to cycle, and I don't think that's anything he is looking to do here.
Theoretically, Zalae still wants to proc the block or earn pressure as well, but he's really not able to do that until the Ember draw a field, because you need the Ember to make...
We
to make
actually
this
have a
kind of
problem here. We don't have any cards that we can play. Oh,
Well, you can play
sorry.
1 Frothing to force the mage to deal with it. It's a Frostbolt ping.
I mean,
I was
Although,
gonna
how
say you
does
can
he-
brawl, but actually the button doesn't light up if there's no minion.
yeah, he didn't want to play any cards, but he had to.
This is really weird. I think Zalae is definitely going for the win by fatigue. Like, that is
Well, now
the
that he's
obvious
played the
plan.
frothing, he's left himself with absolutely no choice but to do that.
Yeah.
Wow, and also Nuria is using a lot of these spells, so Nuria might actually have a hard time killing this warrior, because it seems like his Archmage is not actually gonna get that many fireballs.
Well, to be
Well,
consistent,
now
I
we see,
imagine
but
Slay
how many
plays
times?
frothing here.
Whoa. All right, what were you saying, Trump?
To be consistent, I imagine Slay plays frothing here. There it is.
There's
Slay
actually
no longer
only
has
one
any
fireball
damage.
from Archmage. It's probably this game. Oh no, 2 with Ice Sense. Okay.
Slay still has 1 Grim Patron, so that's probably going to be his last bit of burst. He'll save the Inner Rage, the Patron, the Warsong Commander, the Whirlwind. He'll be able to do something at least 14.
Still no Emperor.
Might be a 1-turn kill with Patron. That'll be fun.
You could double Battle Rage and hope you find it. Because, I mean, there's...
No.
Like, you Battle Rage once, you draw 1 card, and then you can play Emperor then and there. Or you can draw 2 cards and try to find the Emperor, and if it doesn't work out... I mean, I guess, what do you do if it doesn't work out?
The
could
larger
even-
problem here right now is that he doesn't have any cards that he can play.
Yeah.
That
I
he
think
wants
you
to
could
play.
play Inner Rage, right?
Ugh.
The problem is Inner Rage is 5 damage, which is a lot. It actually possibly is 8 damage.
In certain
Because,
circumstances, yeah.
But if
Okay,
you're
that
going
makes
for a
sense.
win through fatigue, that it doesn't matter as much, right?
Yeah. So he
But
doesn't
it
want...
is very helpful to bring your opponent down to 1.
Yeah, that's true.
I like the Warsong Commander play. Like, that looks ridiculous, but he does have enough in his deck.
Yeah. And now, I guess Neria's holding on to this Flame Strike in case a Patron comes out, which it does! Wow, alright, so hello, Patron.
It's worth it to play it here, because you're going to play it
You
eventually.
actually have the Warsong already. You don't even need Emperor here because you already got the discount on the Warsong, technically,
Right.
from last turn. You could actually maybe get the block here. I don't know the math too well here.
It's going to be 2 patrons at 5, and then 4 patrons at 3, so 10 plus 12, 22. Yeah, you can break the block pretty easily here.
Something to think about though. Why he's not playing Patron.
Whoa, he
Something to
chooses
think
not to
about
break.
is that if you use both Inner Rages and your Deathbite to get the block, you might not have a way to proc execute on a big minion.
I'm not sure you needed to use the Death Spy. Let's see, so it's 24, 26. I don't think you even needed the Death Spy.
Oh, okay, Neria's plan is looking very foreign to me. So he's really planning to just play the fatigue game as well. And he really holds on to that Flame Strike for the very last second when when both Warsongs are dead, which will happen very soon, and the patrons try to come out with a last-ditch Whirlwind Inner Rage effort, which has to be now, I guess. If you want to pull that off, there's really no other time.
I was very surprised that Zilay didn't do it last turn, but...
Yeah.
Oh,
Basically,
I see.
reasonable.
He has another Armor Smith in his deck, doesn't he?
Oh, I see.
Oh wow.
That must be his plan.
You're right. So he's just waiting for that last Armor Smith to get all the patrons up with a ton of armor with the Whirlwind from the weapon. Alright. Seems to be... It's very consistent with his game plan from what we've seen
It's
so far.
time to slam!
Yeah,
Slam your
actually,
shot.
you're right. That is... that's amazing. Oh wow. That's beautiful. But now there's really no enabler for Archmage. Healbot.
Interesting. Does that mean that Nari is saving the Alex to heal himself as well, maybe?
That's what I'm thinking. If he hasn't been using it offensively, I mean, there might be a point where it becomes useful offensively,
Yeah.
but it's not yet.
Okay, it's a good pickup, finally. Maybe it means that you
Not
lead up
even
the
that
heal
great.
bot though, because this whirlwind is too important. This whirlwind from Deathbite is too important, right, for the last Armor Smith. Are you just Emperor? Oh no.
So less Armor Smith value
Yeah.
by default, but at least you can replay that weapon. Yeah, with none of these patrons has charge, which could be pretty big.
Oh, he
deal.
has another Warsong in there, so it's all good. What a fascinating way this matchup was for him.
There's Armor Smith. In fact, it's very likely that this turn is the armor smith's turn because if you have to slam execute that or punch it for 5, you take a lot more damage. Whereas since you already have, like, if you whirlwind here, you can also proc execute, right? It's like killing 2 birds.
Yeah. So you're doing everything at once.
And it's not like you could ever charge out to the. Well, actually, you could charge out to the Grim Patrons with the Armor Smith.
Yeah, that's a consideration not to do it this turn. And maybe
Rage Execute might be fine.
Rage Execute or punch,
I like that.
execute. I don't think you should want to slam execute. Oh, you don't even have slam anymore.
Yeah, it's gone.
That's
you
right.
slammed your own 2-1. Or 4-1 at that point, I guess. It's an amusing game. I mean, you like Zelia at this point has to have done the like arithmetic sequencing on the amount of fatigue damage that's going to be dealt to his opponent. By the time
he's played by ear, I don't think anyone's done the arithmetic sequence.
Well, I mean, if you're going to go for a fatigue plan at this point,
so you just generally
just stir out, like generate as much armor as you can.
Yeah.
Okay.
So. Where is that? Is that it? Here's some gems.
Best minion ever. It's actually not even half bad here. It's funny.
Imagine how good Grom would have been this game. Just like
This actually didn't work out that well, since the Armor Smith only has 1 whirlwind to go with it.
Yeah.
But
that's why I almost feel like it was.
You can't even charge the Grim Patron damage.
And just tank the NT heal bot that turn.
Yeah, his last card is Warsong. I guess you can play it with 1 patron, but at this point it's like I think you're just gonna wait the entire game. I
think you do it at the exact turn where he plays Alex, because then you can combo Whirlwind with Execute.
Yeah, you don't have the choice.
Also, you can do it on a turn where they're gonna lose their block. But I guess he can't do 30, right? Anyways, there's no way.
Right, might as well do it now then.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way he does 30.
Because if you get the block with it, that makes sense. Where you one-shot him through the block. Yeah, he's
After
doing
this
it now.
turn, Zlay will literally only be armoring up for the rest of the game.
Yeah. But Ward doesn't have anything to do with
This is really amusing.
So, is there another minion here? No, right? There's no big minion left for Ward. Because
there's no card in this deck. Yeah, there's nothing.
Yeah, there's not any more big minions. Maybe it's gonna come down to the Armor Smith beatdown, or the Acolyte of Pain beatdown. You know, like you play strength through everything, and then you play double Acolyte, and if they can't get Acolytes, no, there's a Fire War Axe. So,
war by attrition. But then again, if you keep the charges,
there's also
yeah, you're right.
There's ways to remove the Armor Smith beatdown.
Oh wow.
Alright, well this is it. We'll see what happens because this is pretty much it.
Yeah, but like the warrior has quite an edge. The thing
There's
is
no
that
way Mage is winning, right?
Yeah.
Right. Warrior won.
It's not even close.
I mean, I guess you could play Blood Mage and Acolyte, like the both of them. But then you're exposing yourself to the brawl. If you know that Zelay's running it, then you're not doing that.
Even if you don't know there's brawl, if you play Acolyte, he also just punches them, and you take
you
more
die.
fatigue damage.
You just die faster. Yeah.
No, this is over, right? Also, the Warrior Hero Power is better than the Mage Hero Power in this situation, because he gets 2, you do 1 damage a turn. Not to mention, you're so far behind life already.
I like this opportunity
I guess.
to Resident Sleep. Hey, that's crazy, man. You can play Acolyte next turn, and then draw again, and then replay the other Acolyte to beat down the Warrior by 1. Okay, so
that's way too slow. You're dead.
Maria can't cope with the fact that his Ice Blocks won't save him from fatigue damage. So Zell's going to be going up 3 wins, I guess, for the Team Archon. Team Liquid still has to win with Freeze Mage, and I think at this point everybody knows exactly all the cards that are in that Freeze Mage's deck. And yeah, no surprise, no Malygos surprise, basically.
Nope.
Wow, that was long.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in those matchups, once you have a plan, like, once both people have locked in their game plan for the game, it's not incredibly technical play. It's more like just seeing the big picture there, and, seeing that you can win through fatigue. Just because, like, a lot of turns ended up just like armor pass, and, just ended up not doing much of anything, but these games, because these decks are just so, both of them are so uninteractive, there's not much to do between them, so.
Yeah, but it does take a visionary to
Yeah,
plan
it's more about
that
seeing that.
particular play from, I think Zalae
Turn,
decided to do
like,
that from
7?
somewhere around turn 6, maybe?
Yeah, it was ridiculously early in the game, and then he went through with it until the end. That was pretty insane. Good thing he didn't wait for the second Armor Smith, by the way, because that was way down at the bottom of the deck. Like we mentioned, usually some people like to wait for 2 Armor Smiths to start whirlwinding, but never mind that.
Yeah, it was dangerous, though.
There wouldn't have been, like, just stay away for 30 turns. The one bad thing is you would have had to somehow play out 1 more card in your hand, you know, because you have 10 cards. But otherwise, it would still be better to just wait, get the double Armor Smith Dream, I think.
Yeah.
Here
By the
we go.
way,
Next matchup on the block. Next Shaman.
one question before we move into the game. Do you know if the Fallen Hero card from the Mage that you played yesterday that deals more damage with your hero power will increase the damage you take from life tap if you get it from a Shredder?
Your hero ability deals 1 more damage. I think it would.
Okay. Alright, that's kind of out of the way. It's also buffed to Hunter. Alright, good. Now back to the to the Shaman versus Mage game. Looking at Freeze Mage versus Mech Shaman. I think Mech Shaman is not that terrible. I mean, it's hard to get the board if the Doomsayer comes out and does a clean sweep. But Fairy versus a pretty, annoying minion to deal with as a mage.
Well, that's a cool call. He's chosen to keep Doomhammer in his opening hand.
I think it makes sense, actually, now that I think of it. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Guaranteed damage output. You can combine it with... The earlier you can get your Rockbiters with it, the better off you'll be.
And that's a very burn-heavy hand from Naira. It's all burn.
Double Doomhammer for Zalae here. Whoa! I swear Neria will not be expecting this. This will be a surprise. We're talking about guaranteed 32, right?
That's right. There's nothing that the mage can do to disrupt 32 damage. Over 8 turns.
I don't know. Well, 8 turns after turn 5. Like, that's a lot to think about, but... I mean, the Shaman...
It's like, wait, is this a Mech Shaman? Oh, yes, it is. Okay.
Yeah, Zap-O-Matic's kind of the telling point.
Naria must look at that turn 3 and be like, ha, I won.
2 Doomhammers.
Yeah, I don't think... Neria doesn't know what's about to hit him, 16 times in the face. But
Doomhammer is really good at fighting against, like, these uninteractive decks because, it's, it just does its thing, like, over... Yeah.
Well, I remember
you can freeze
being
minions
good.
all you want. I just have this Doomhammer that pretty much, like, never goes away.
Yeah, like it was good against Control Warrior back in the days, but even they could get Harrison Jones value out of it. So, nowadays, I guess Freeze Mage is probably one of the best targets for it.
Yeah. It's actually a decent hand against Freeze Mage now I think about it because, well, it'd be nice to have an early opening, but it's not that bad. Shaman is still with the totem up and generate some pressure from totems, even though they don't care, I guess, about the totems. They're 0/2s, but...
This is going to be amusing because I think this might be the worst possible Shaman hand which can beat a deck.
Yeah,
like
you're right.
This deck can only... This open can only beat Freeze Mage, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like you can't fight against anything else this kind of thing, but I kind of agree with that.
The most unexpected good hand. Well, then again, he could just die to burn, right? Like if Neria manages to get an Emperor, let's say.
Oh yeah, he picked the second Ice Lance, so that's already 11 plus 6, which is 17.
Yeah.
Oh, and Pyroblast for 27.
Yeah, we're talking about a lot
this hand would have actually done really poorly against like a Mad Scientist opening, or especially like multiple small minions like Mad Scientist Loot Order all burn. This is thinking about somehow removing the heal bot here because the heal bot is really pressuring your board a lot.
Yeah, I mean, given that his plan is to attack Naria about, what, 8 more turns? Yeah. He needs the game to go on 8 more turns, so he can't have Healbot doing 24 damage.
Yeah. What's the best way for him to remove it if